have looked up career possibilities as a moving military girlfriend, maybe someday wife. My boyfriend really wants me to go with him, but I don't know if it's the best thing for me, career-wise. Currently, I'm in school, going for my bachelor's degree. I only have 2 years left, and after that, I plan on getting into law school. He's in the Air Force, stationed in Texas, which he's been here for about 3 years now. We have been together for 1.5. Knowing that he's going overseas, it's possible he'll be stationed in different countries for a few years. What's holding me back is my career. Law school isn't meant to be jumping around from country to country without knowing where you'll land permanently due to the bar exam. Also, we aren't married and I don't know if I should risk my career, which I've been very committed to being a lawyer. For a future that's a bit warped. I did see that I can become a programmer and it'll be versatile, but that's not what I truly want to do. Sure, Hawaii seems amazing, but more of a 3-year-long vacation with a questionable future. We both agreed that long distance wouldn't work since I would be all the way in Texas. Is it bad that I want to go but don't want to risk it all just to be put in a bad situation of misery? Also, if I do go, I'd have to transfer schools and go to school in Hawaii. That's already a very high tuition that has to be paid by FAFSA and student loans. Quite frankly, I'm also afraid that I won't be able to sustain myself separately from my boyfriend's income. I like to feel independent and know that I can fend for myself. Maybe that's a pride issue? I don't know, but I do know it's a high standard of living. That also adds to the jumble of thoughts. I will also admit, I am fairly close to my parents. In my Hispanic household, we have always been very united. I currently work with them in their small business because it benefits the both of us. I can go to school with a flexible schedule and still make good income, and they have a stable employee. That's something my boyfriend never really knew growing up. He's a Kansas boy, from a small town, with parents who split up when he was little. I feel like he doesn't understand how hard it'll hit my parents and I, being far away for 3 years. It also bothers them a bit that I'm not married but willing to leave not knowing what'll happen in the relationship. There's this girl that lives in my uni halls. We're not roommates but we are flatmates. We are both 19 years old. Let's name her Kaya. I met her in September when we started university and moved into halls. We're not best friends but we are friendly. We don't really spend much time together. Over time, my friends noticed that Kaya tried to copy me in everything. It started slowly, accessories and some clothes. Nothing major. I didn't even notice until people started pointing it out to me. I have a rather distinct style and she started copying it. I don't know the style and she's free to wear what she likes, but it's the exact same copies of my outfits, which is very odd. But then, it started going further. I dyed my hair, she dyed her hair. I bought something for my room, she bought the same thing. I started chatting with a guy. She became obsessed with that guy to a point that whenever I had a male friend or guy I was interested in over, she would go out of her way to try and get their attention, coming down to the kitchen in nothing but a towel. She never used to do it, etc. And she would do anything to attract attention. Now, don't get me wrong, I couldn't care less if the guy was looking, and even if it was my boyfriend looking. I'd have a beef with him, not her, but the blatant attention-seeking behavior was just odd. I joined societies and sports, and after she found out, she joined the same ones I did. Basically, everything I do, she copies eventually. It's just really creepy, but I haven't said anything. I wouldn't even know what to say. Over the Easter break, my friend and I were at my family house, a bit drunk, and decided to test out whether Kaya really copies everything I do. I made a post on social media about shaving my head. My friend does hairdressing and she helped me out faking shaved head, and I posted a photo with shaved head. I deleted the photo few days later and forgot about this whole thing. After Easter break was over, we had uni exams and I was focusing on that. Imagine my shock when I came back and Kaya had shaved head. And she was pissed when she saw me. She started shouting how I lied to her and why would I do that. She went on and on and on, really angry. Admittedly, I ignored her and hid in my room. She sent me a text telling me that she expects me to pay for her wig as it's my fault she shaved her head. I replied that absolutely not, that it was not my fault and she decided on her own to do that. She kept attacking me over it every time I saw her. It's been a few days since I came back from Easter break. My exams start tomorrow, and yesterday I received an email from my university asking me for a meeting over the issue. She reported me to uni over something she's done. I am genuinely confused. Was I really in the wrong? My husband Tim has a serious dairy allergy. I'm talking about an actual immune system reaction, not intolerance. His allergy is serious enough to cause acute enterocolitis, but he hasn't needed an EpiPen since he was a kid. I work full-time and also have some seasonal work this holiday season because Tim has been without work. And money has been very tight. As a result, I barely get to rest. The holidays are especially hard, and I found myself getting just one day off every 2 weeks for almost 2 months straight. As you can imagine, that day off means the universe to me. Now, Tim loves dairy, and will sometimes intentionally eat things which trigger his allergy. Lately, it's gotten out of hand, with him going from one risky meal every 4 to 6 months, to every 2 or so weeks. In fact, it always seemed to coincidentally line up with my time off, and I found myself spending my one day taking care of him. Last week, I finally asked him if he was intentionally timing it to line up with my day off. I fully expected him to say no, but he admitted that he was doing it to make sure that he'd have a nurse. And so he'd have someone close by in case he had an especially adverse reaction and needed a hospital. I was livid, and told him that he was selfish, robbing me of my rest. I said that if he made himself sick again, I wouldn't take care of him. I'm exhausted and I need to decompress. He didn't say much, so I thought he'd heard me. Fast forward to Friday night. I get home from work, and a few minutes in, Tim gets a pizza delivered. I ask him why, when I'm making dinner, and he shrugs. I ask if a large garlic Alfredo pizza is worth the pain, and remind him that I won't be giving up my rest day again. He smirks and eats an entire slice while grinning at me. I left it at that and went back to my dinner. Predictably, he got sick, profusely vomiting, retching and groaning from the intense cramping and diarrhea. I slept in the guest room to get away from the sound and smell. He called for me several times and I repeatedly told him no. Hours later, he was still sick and woke me up at the crack of dawn to go get him Pedialyte and meds because he was very dehydrated and still in pain. I told him to order it in and asked him to get out and let me sleep. He was still whimpering when I eventually got up to shower and eat. Again, I did nothing to help or comfort him. By evening, he was sulking, and by morning when I had to work, he was enraged. He yelled, and by the end of the day he told our friends and family that he nearly died and I neglected him. His family accused me of passively trying to kill him. His mom called, shouting that he could have had a life-threatening reaction due to my petty actions. And that I'm a shit wife for not minding his health. I'm starting to feel guilty because she's right and he could have been seriously hurt. So I am 22 years old. I don't have much knowledge about finances and stuff as I still live at home as I'm at university. I do however pay my parents about £300 a month rent, I pay my own phone plan, buy material stuff I want or need, pay out for other services like for music or whatever, and try to put as much as I can in savings whilst still keeping enough in my main account for day-to-day purchases. Currently, I am saving up for driving lessons and hope that if I pass decently, I can use some of my savings towards getting a car. I'm in my final year of uni, so I'll be done and able to work full-time when all this happens. I also decided to get a credit card so I can learn how to manage credit wisely and build some up. My credit score is good for someone of my age and circumstance, but obviously it's nothing great in comparison for other stuff. I should point out that at most I only plan on using this card with a total adding up to £100. I've stuck to that so far and only actually used it twice, with these purchases only adding up to £80, and I paid it off quickly. I do not plan on exceeding my limit anytime soon, as I've heard far too many horror stories of people just using their credit card too much cause it was handy and getting into debt. The only people I disclosed this to was my dad, as my mom has the tendency to blab to my brother and sister-in-law, both 28. She happened to overhear us talking one day, and before I knew it, my brother and sister-in-law got wind and asked me if they could use it. They both admitted they had debt spurned on by excessive credit card use and thought that since I basically had nothing owed on mine, It was free money. I told them quite politely that I was really uncomfortable with that idea and that I would owe the money and I can't magic up that kind of money. Things went quiet until a few days later they both turned up at the house. They were nice to start with but basically started demanding I let them use the card, and they tried to manipulate my mother into guilting me into doing it. I got really angry, and when my brother said I owe it to them because they used to babysit me up until a couple of years ago, I laughed in their faces and walked out. When I came home, I learned they tried to manipulate my dad and he kicked them both out. My mother then tried and he told her to go too, and she is currently staying with my brother and Asael. The only person on my side is my dad, who tells me they're all trying to take me for a ride and they're trying to manipulate me cause I'm young and they think I'm vulnerable. My brother, sister-in-law and mom on the other hand think it isn't a big deal letting someone else use my card. It's really messing with my head and I just want everyone to stop being in an argument